Why, hello there, it's Amy with Just a Little Ink. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, celebrating my 24th year as a demonstrator. Let's see if we can catch a couple people on. I'll wait just a couple minutes and then I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera and get going. Today I'm going to share with you a project I'd hoped to share last week. And it's using the Christmas Crew bundle that is in the September to December catalog that is not yet live for you to purchase. Demonstrators have had that chance to pre-order through the month of August, and these items will be available for you to purchase beginning September the 1st. And so if this is something that you've been seeing and if you really love the projects I share today, it'll be a great thing to just jump on quick and order those on September 1st. I will update my list on my YouTube channel. Those are not things I can add yet, but just note that they will be available September 1st. You can always use keywords and search for it, but this has been a fun set to play with. And so I'm just going to go ahead, kind of get going and get some introductions. We'll hope we get a few people hopping on here after a bit, but I don't want to delay too much. And so let's get moving here. I think we can do picture in picture. We're going to hope that you can kind of see what I'm going to be sharing. I'm using, as I mentioned, the Christmas Crew bundle, and it is this adorable stamp set and the coordinating die set, and there's some cute things that die set really adds. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull those kind of out of the way, get them out of the picture. Hopefully that will help the camera kind of focus in on what you're going to want for the project I'm going to share. You're going to want a 8.5 by 5.5 piece of pool party cardstock. I've already scored it in the middle at 4 1/4. And then, of course, for my inside, I'm going to want a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of basic white paper. You just need a neutral, but white works the best. And then I need a couple other pieces of basic white. Let me pull them out of here. I'm going to want a 3 by 5 1/2. Let me double check my measurements. Yes, a 3 by 5 1/2, and that's to stamp some of those cute little critters. And then you're going to want a piece that is 2 1/4 inches by 5 1/2, and that's going to do something fun for us. And then you want a couple pieces. Well, let me tell you about this piece first. You want a piece of shaded spruce cardstock, a little scrap piece. This is 2 by 1 1/2 inches. And then you're going to want a couple pieces of designer series paper, and this is the beautiful Ordinary Life designer series paper. This has been in our is this the March to through August catalog? I think that's the name of it. The current catalog that we have currently right now. And this wonderful pool party kind of faded polka dot I'm going to use as a sky. And so this piece is 2 1/2, I believe. Let me verify. 2 1/2, nope, 2 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I have a little piece that's 1/2 inch by 5 1/2, and that is for our, 5 1/4, that's for our inside. And so I'm going to go ahead and kind of move some things out of the way that we don't need, and then we will talk about the things we do. So let's move out. I'm going to share with you what I'm going to stamp with. Let me grab my critters here. I'm going to want them on, I'm not sure, can we fit it on this block? Yeah, I think we can. I'm going to take that snowman first. And the snowman holds this adorable sign. And so I'm going to get my stamps ready. You have seen me stamping when I'm using Stampin' Blends, which is what I'm going to use today. You've been seeing me use other stamp pads. I'm going to use, which Stampin' Up! Does not carry anymore, the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. We've started carrying, Stampin' Up! Has the basic black hybrid ink, and I'm just really not a fan. And so I've not been using it. And so you may use, and I have done multiple times, either basic gray, I've used Secret Sea, you've seen me use Early Espresso, and all of those inks, as long as you let them dry just a little bit, stamp and you can blend really quite well. I'm going to use my Memento. The beauty of hybrid ink is that you're able to use it for both watercolor and alcohol inks. I just, again, have not been as thrilled. And so I'm going to stamp that cute little, and I used to use baby wipes to clean my stamps when I'm working up here. I have a different area I use for my, my videoing and classes. And so, and then I'm going to go ahead and do all of these and then go across, and then I'll do just a little bit of coloring. I want to share with you the colors I'm using. I'm going to then add my reindeer. And again, ink it up. The biggest thing I don't care about the hybrid ink is that it stains my stamps. I'm going to stamp that reindeer. He is so cute. And then one more. I'm going to grab that bear. Again, he is adorable. And I may put him upside down. We'll see. So it won't matter. Okay. I'm going to see here. Yes, I do believe I will put him upside down. Stamp that, clean up my stamp, and then I'm going to grab my colors, because anything else I'm going to do, we'll stamp in color, and I don't want to deal with that right now. So we're going to show you, I'm going to show you, I would then, just so you know, I'm not going to run them through, I've already done some ahead of time. They have coordinating dies that will cut out those shapes, as well as some other items, and I will talk about those in a minute. And then I'm going to use some Stampin' blends. And so for my my snowman, I want to color his hat, and so I've got basic black, and this is the light. I don't use the dark very often because it is very, very dark, and it will completely hide anything that I've stamped color-wise. And so I want to have just a little bit of black for his hat, and then I'm going to use some shaded spruce, and I'm going to do just every other little block of his scarf. And again, you won't see me do all of it, but I'm going to do a little. And then I'm going to come down here and you'll see why. So just coloring it in, not trying to shade. I'm really more watercolor, or not watercolor, color book coloring. Then I'm going to grab real red, and again, I'm going to use the dark. And if you've ever had this happen, it does start to happen with your Stampin' blends. If you will kind of wiggle them, you can then normally, well, and if not, we'll use the other side. So we'll use the light. Looks like I need to replace my real red. And that does happen eventually. I'm going to use the light color just because it's easier for me at this point. So then you would color in, and if you do like I just did, I barely dotted a little there. We do sell, if you haven't seen it or used it, we do sell a color corrector. It's a color lifter, and it will lift and push. I kind of like to refer to it as a color pusher. So I'm going to push that back in, and let me grab over here. So one thing I didn't grab, and I already had done it on my other sample, I needed pumpkin pie for the carrot nose. I would do red or green for his hat. And then I want to use light pecan pie to do his stick arms. And they're pretty small outlines, and so you want to just kind of be really light-handed with and allow the tip of it to just barely touch your paper. That will keep it from bleeding out beyond. And I would do then the same thing on the other. I'm going to use the dark of pecan pie for the sign. And so that's the same kind of thing here. I'm going to open it up, and that way I just have a little contrast between his stick arm and the sign. And I would do the same thing coming across. I'm not going to do the whole thing, kind of like so. Okay, and then because you want a little interest to set off the snowman from everything else that's white, I'm just going to come in where I see the stitching or the shading, and I'm going to add just a little bit of the light pool party. And I do that to just give a little bit of interest. And so I'll come and just do a little bit, and it tends to then hide. You won't even notice it when I get everything cut. But you can come in, add it in different places. You could come up here and give it a little more shading. That helps your snowman really to pop. Then we have our reindeer. And so again, I'm going to use the dark pecan pie. At least I think I am. And I'm going to come across here and get his nose first, unless you wanted this to look like a Rudolph. And in that case, you would do his nose in red, which would be kind of cute. And then I'm going to grab the hooves in that same dark pecan pie. And then I'm going to come quick. I've got Barely Blush that I'm going to do the insets of the ears. It's a really, really pale pink. This is one of our brand new in colors. And then I want that light pecan pie. And you notice I'm using my bullet tip. I don't tend to use the brush tip unless I'm covering a big area. So I'm just going to come again, kind of color. I'll just do his head. And I'm calling these all guys. Do you do that when you're coloring different critters? Do you give them a boy or a girl designation? All right, maybe you don't. So then we're going to come here, like I said, and then I want to, and I could keep going, I could blend. You really could all these things. The antlers would also get done. I'll only do one. They'll go in the dark just to have a little contrast between the two. And again, it's a small space like the arms of the snowman, and so you don't want to do too much. And then I want to use the light, and this one I might choose to use the brush tip. I'm going to use the brush tip of my Pool Party blend just to color my sign, and it's okay if it's not even covered all the way. I mostly just don't want it to be white, because otherwise it doesn't stand out enough when I'm putting it in the inside of my card. And this is why I did not stamp the greetings first. And then, so I would do that, and then we're going to turn around. We're going to work with our bear, and I'm going to use gray granite for the bear. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do his muzzle, and I'm using the dark for the muzzle, and I'm only going to do a little bit of the dark in a couple places. Then I'm going to grab the light, and I'm going to do the rest. And we'll only do the head. I would do this for the rest of my bear's body. what I find is if you're starting to blend at all, you have the best chance of everything blending well if you don't wait in between applications of colors. So I would keep doing that with all of them. For his nose, I'm going to come back in with the light basic black, just to give a nice dark nose, like so. And then for the sign, I'm taking my light shaded spruce, and I would do my sign in the shaded spruce. Again, because I want something that's going to stand off against my basic white that I'm putting on the inside of this card. So we are just about to the point where I will share with you how we're putting this together. So, too fun. You'll have to let me know in the comments whether or not you have already begun your Christmas card making. Many people already have. So what I would do is I would then take this, I would load it on my plate for my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. You can use your mini because the mini will work just fine. Remember that you will then line up all your pieces across with the dies that are coordinating. So I would grab out, line it up. I would use some post-it tape or post-it notes, whatever I needed to make sure I have everything lined up. I told you there's a couple dies in here that you will use, such as this little beard and mustache that can go on one of these guys to give them hair, essentially. And so you would line that up. I'm not going to do that because I've already cut it out, but you'd run that through. And I'm just going to set this down here. There's some trees in here that I'm going to use. So I'm going to set this aside. The trees are what's going to go through on the shaded spruce scrap. And I did tear off a piece of post-it tape. So I'm going to run that through my machine. Let me see if I can do that while you're waiting on me here. So I always put it on. I leave a little bit of gap on the in-between. Lay my top plate in so that my sandwich will run through my machine really pretty well. So I'm going to run it through, and I'm doing this because I want to share with you something I'm doing with the trees that I think really set things off. And so this cuts out two separate trees. One's big and one's little. All right. And that post-it tape can get reused over and over again. So then I would grab the point of my scissors and just poke out with those relief holes, because this is a solid die. So there's the small one. And see if we can get it to pop out. Is in there. Well, let's try. If we have to, we can grab our release roller. I think there we go. All right, so then I've got those sitting here. Set my die away so I don't lose it. Okay. So what I wanted to share with you is I've got our gel pen. Gel pen is new to our catalog as of, I believe that again was April. So it's just a white gel pen, and I'm going to do it on this larger one. Hopefully you can see it here. All I did was use it to come across the top to make it look like this tree had had some snow on it. And so you don't want it on all of them, but you want to be strategic with where you place it. And I have a tendency to want to keep it all on kind of one side and maybe down the front a little bit. And so you would just do that on both of them. Let me lift it up a little higher so maybe you can see it. How it gives just the look of some snow. So I'm going to set those aside because I've got my card that I want to get things ready for. So I'm going to fold my card in half. Again, this was the 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Get my bone folder out. Okay. And I'll grab those images that I've already stamped. I stamped the inside with the Sending Holly Jolly Wishes in real red ink on my already completed snowman. For the bear, I opted to put that mustache and the beard on. I also had die cut a hat, a Santa hat, and then I've stamped on here the fa la la and ho 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 in the center of his sign. And then for the deer, to kind of finish it off, I've stamped Merry in real red and Christmas in shaded spruce and to his sign. And so then I'm going to take my polka dot designer series paper. I'm going to just use my Stampin' Seal for time's sake. I kind of go between both Stampin' Seal and I'm going to not put it all the way at the top. Stampin' Seal and multi-purpose liquid glue. So kind of my two choices of adhesive. Let's see if we can be as straight as possible here. Okay. Then this 2 1/4, I believe. Verify again. Yes. No, 2.5 by 5.5 piece of basic white cardstock. All I'm going to do is come in about the middle on the short side, and I'm going to tear it toward me. And so I'm just going to tear it, and I'm not going to try to go straight. I want this to be my mountains of snow. So I want some drift to my cardstock. And so then I've got two sides that are going to have a rough edge. And so these I will lay down with liquid glue. So I'm going to open up my tip of my green glue, and I think I want to put this one down first. So I'm going to line up just with a little bit along the edge here. And I want to make sure this piece is just high enough to come up and cover where my seam is here. And so if I didn't stick it down too soon, let's see, it almost is too soon. There we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this lower section of that paper. If you saw my videos from, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, I did this with the penguins and it was really fun. So again, I'm going to overlap these two. I don't want it to go all the way to the bottom because again, I'm leaving a little bit of a gap at the bottom and at the top. Okay, so you can see here that it gives me some interest with my snow. And then I'm going to layer my snowman on. I'm going to glue him down directly. I could have popped it up, but I don't want too much, I don't want it to be too thick. So I'm going to kind of dot lightly on those skinny pieces. Make sure I've got enough to hold it down. And I'm going to place my snowman up on this mound. So I want him up a little bit higher. Okay, and then I told you I had already done my trees. So I have my 2 trees. I'm going to put those on. The big one I'm going to put on with a little bit of liquid glue. And it is going to come up here. And you could choose to stick it into the snow a little bit. So I want it sitting up and into there. And then my other tree, I'm going to add just a couple little mini dimensionals. Or pieces of mini dimensional when they're out. Do you use your edges? Makes an easy way to get them. So I just want a little bit of Stampin' Dimensional. And so we're just going to take a little bit of these little strips. Okay. Like so. Then this one can get popped up just a little bit in front of. Okay, so that's the front of my card. I could add some Wink of Stella along my snow-torn edge. Then on my inside, this is where this piece is going to come in. That's where I want my Fa La La, Ho Ho Ho, and my Merry Christmas to be on the inside of my card. And so those I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to stick a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue again, mainly because I don't want too much dimension, especially on the inside of a card. And let's line those up. You're probably wondering, what am I doing with, I'm going to stick this one, I want them not quite centered. And I want this side. So I want Merry Christmas right next to. Here we go. And then I've got my strip. I wasn't sure initially, this little strip of designer paper, if I was going to want it up at the top or if I was going to want it at the bottom, and I really do like it at the bottom, just it needs something to help ground. And so I'm just going to again use that liquid glue. Just get a little bead of it on there. And then we're ready to finish. And so I'm going to just add this to the base. And a little bit of Stampin' Seal. Open up my card. And I have another Christmas card ready to go. So you'll have to let me know what you think of this adorable guy. I didn't bring with me extra samples of anything today, but this is a great way of showing how you can use non-Stampin' or non-Christmas paper to make a Christmas card, and I think he turned out really quite cute. So thanks again for joining me. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear your comments. If you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, I'd love it if you would do so. It's easy to just click on that bell at the bottom. And if you are on my Facebook page, please like, share, comment. Same with Facebook or with YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you again next Friday on my next Stampin' Live. Have a wonderful weekend and a great week. Happy stamping.